How are you doing? But before answering that, actually, let me just take a half a second to kind of introduce you. Peter Jumrukovski is a phenomenal real estate broker, a podcaster, which he has a podcast which has interviewed some of the most famous people you guys follow on Instagram when it comes to entrepreneurships, from Ryan Serhan, a phenomenal broker in the great region of New York and beyond, as well as you name them. They're kind of skipping my head over here, but David Meltzer and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's some great people as well. He has won some medals as a karate expert. So really looking forward to talking about all of that, your background with that. And for your audience, Peter, my name is Dedeyan. I am a professional speaker and a peak performance business and life coach. So Peter, my brother, first and foremost, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate being here today with you and talk to your audience as well as mine and see what we can share today, to evolve in life and to go after our dreams and to feel that, passion and happiness that we all deserve and that we all want in our life.
Okay, I'm gonna start right there because we're lucky enough to have already spoken together. I was on your podcast and it was a great vibe, so that's why I invited you on Friday Flow. And it's very obvious that you are somebody that's passionate, and I want to know, how did you find your passion, and what can you tell to some people that are potentially looking for their passion itself? What would you speak to that?
Yeah, being passionate it's a very interesting subject because I meet a lot of people that are not passionate, and then they say, "Oh, Peter, it's easy for you because you have something that you really love, that you're going after. You train karate all your life," and so on and so on. I think passion comes usually from being good at something. You have interest for something, but the real passion usually comes after you've done it for a while. You feel like you're good at something. That's a nice feeling. If you're listening to this right now, there's something that you're good at in your life, and that makes makes you want to do more of that, right? But in order to get there, you have to start, go there and go to the practice, if it's soccer or whatever it might be. And after a while, the passion grows. So I don't think necessarily that passion is something that comes right away. I think it's something that you need to explore.
I love that, Peter, and you're absolutely right. When it comes to passion, it's like two sides of things. First and foremost, like you said, when you're passionate about something, it's usually something that you do at a very high level and it comes easy to you. And at the counterpart, it's something that gets developed with time, right? More expertise you develop on it, more you understand the challenge, the intricacies of the thing that you're doing, you become passionate about it. So I love that you mentioned that. And furthermore, let's just jump into the aspect of you doing karate, because you did mention you've been doing karate your whole life. How did you get into it? Why do you still do it? Talk to me a bit about that.
Yeah, so my father, he moved to Sweden from Macedonia in 1969, and he was an immigrant. He started working his first day at that time. He came with a train. The day after he started working, and he worked until retirement. He found a passion for martial arts and started training. And after a while, he also always tells me the story. Every time in the martial art practice, you usually line up. And when he started, he was all the way down in the hall, and he saw the black belt. He's like, "I'm going to be there in a couple of years." And make no mistake, 3 or 4 years later, he became a black belt. And today, being a black belt, honestly, it's not as hard as it was back then. Everybody's a black belt nowadays. It's kind of a business, unfortunately. It's not the quality of being a great martial artist has gone down like a lot of other things in life. But at that time, my father told me 10 people had the exam for black belt. Only 4 people passed, and 3 of them were in the national team, and the 4th one was my father. So it was very, very hard at that time. Anyways, he decided to start a karate club. He married my mom. He got some kids, and then I was always there at practice. I never wanted to train. At one point, I even throw off my gi and just ran out naked from the sports hall. And so that was the story until I saw the Karate Kid. And it might sound corny, but for me, there was one moment in the Karate Kid that kind of changed my life. And that's if you watch the Karate Kid 1, there's a moment when Mr. Miyagi speaks to Daniel-san, and he says, karate is like life. It's like walking on a road. Either you walk on the left side or you walk on the right side. If you walk in the middle, sooner or later, you're going to get squished. So either you do karate do yes, or you do karate do no. And that scene was a very important moment for me. It was like, either I'm doing this or I'm not doing that. And I decided to do it. I was 6 years old, and that's 30 years ago, and I'm still doing it.
Okay, so many things to unpack. As soon as you mentioned Karate Kid and you were telling your story about like how it started and all that stuff, and your father was had started his own dojo and all that, I was thinking about Karate Kid. I'm like, you are the Karate Kid, and then you mentioned it. And for my younger audience, Karate Kid is a movie that was very popular in the mid 80s to late 80s, yeah. I'm not mistaken. And they're actually doing a revamp of the new version of it on Netflix, which I actually recommend. It's very good. And I love the fact that you brought some analogies within life. And that's not only for karate, but anything that you do at a high level when it demands a certain discipline, there's a lot of correlations that you could take out of life towards how long it takes for you to build that expertise, the discipline, the challenges, whatever the case is. And once you learn that, you can bring it into business. And I love one more thing that you mentioned was really funny, is that it's not as hard nowadays to be black belt. So it's kind of like inflation, right? It's just becoming easier and easier to get that due to the business side of things. Yeah. So brother, tell me, in regards to this aspect of karate and you learning from it, real quick, what is the number one thing that you learned from karate that's 100% transitioned into your business life, and it's one of the reasons why you are successful?
I think it's very simple. There's being a martial artist, especially Japanese martial arts, there's something called Bushido, and that means the way of the warrior. If you act like a warrior, bushi in Japanese, there's a certain amounts of virtues that you should aim to have. One of them that I think is one of the most important thing is when you say something, it's like it's already done. Mm-hmm. And that is something that comes from not only from karate, my grandfather, my father always had that, and it's in me as well. So everybody's nowadays, I promise you I'm going to do this, brother. I promise you this and promise you that. Promises are not necessary if you are if you're a man or a woman of your word. When you say something, it's like it's already done. Just remember that in your head. When you say something, it's like it's already done. Then if you really mean that, then you will know how to speak better with people, and not just like, there's a lot of mumbo jumbo. Everybody's saying a lot of cool stuff. I'm going to do this and that. And then when the dust settles, it's all BS. But if you can learn in your own life to actually say and do as the same, your confidence level is going to grow. You're going to have amazing relationships. You're going to be happier because you're congruent with who you are.
I love that, Peter. I love what you just said. First and foremost, almost like the accountability. Like if I'm saying something, I'm doing it. Furthermore, the aspect of like, the Eastern world has a lot to teach us from the Western side of things, because obviously they've been on the planet a bit longer than us, or developed a bit longer. And that ideology of like, hey, if I say something, it's already done. It's already like in the quantum world, and understanding that has a lot of things that are linked up with your subconscious mind that helps you go towards that. Instead of being like, oh, one day I will, or I might. Say, it's already done. I've already created. I've already done X amount of money. I'm already married. Whatever the case, you're kind of manifesting it in. So I love that you're bringing that up. I didn't know that the Japanese culture and the mixed martial arts talks about that as well. And Peter, talk to me a bit about your podcast, because like I said, I was on it, and before going on it, like I check it out and all that stuff. And it's very impressive, your success. It's very impressive, the type of people that you've brought on your show. How did that happen on the regards to you getting these top end people and you develop a successful podcast?
Yeah, I remember, I don't know if you heard about Brian Rose and London Real. Yes. That is, or it was my favorite podcast for a long time. And I always used to listen to this show back in Sweden. And when I was at the gym, when I was walking, I was so impressed, that this guy could invite anyone and have this deep, raw, and honest conversation and ask anybody anything. It just was so impressive to me. And I said, this is something that I really want to do, because I want to help people. I want to, like my mission is to help at least 10 million people to go after their dreams. And I realized very soon that I can't do that myself. I need to meet people like you and a lot of other cool people, Christopher. So I decided I'm gonna create a podcast. And one thing that was my biggest fear was that people are not gonna say yes to be on the show. But I decided to trash that limiting belief, and I told myself, let me just ask the people I want to talk to, of course, in a creative way, and see what happens. So that's how it started. I started with episode 1, and now we're like 270 episodes in. And in the beginning, it was bi-weekly. And then I decided after 3 or 4 months, I'm going to do this weekly. And I've released the show weekly now for almost 250 weeks. So yeah, there we are.
I love it. I love it. 1, the consistency. 2, not being afraid to get told no. Peter, and maybe you could speak to this as well. In our society, we are so afraid of no. And I don't understand this, because rejection is something that is so necessary for success. And if you ever believe that you're going to succeed at a high level, rejection comes as a part of it. So if you're thinking about, oh, I'm not going to start it because maybe I'm not good enough, or they're going to say no, this, that, and the other, what does it really matter? You just have to put yourself out there and try. And I love the fact that you've done that, and you've brought on people, like I said, the Ryan Serns of this world, the Tom Billies of this world, the David Meltzers of this world, which is amazing people. And that being said, out of like all these great people that you have interviewed, what was like one of the top things that you have taken away from these interviews, of how they react, how they move, how are they successful? Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Tom Bilyeu and the impact theory and all that stuff. I'm very curious to know, what did you take away from conversations with people such as himself?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I just want to let everybody know, they didn't say yes the first time I asked them. To get Tom Bilyeu on the show, I became friends with the booker because I was so friendly, persistent with him. So at the end of the day, he's like, man, I got to get you on the show. We got to get Tom. And the reason this happened, he was episode 201. I was trying to get him to episode 200, but I couldn't make it happen. But I got Dave Asprey, which was an amazing guest for episode 200, by basically making a video every day outside Bulletproof Cafe for weeks. And then he was like, I'm tired of you, man. I'm going to jump on your show. But what happens with Tom Bilyeu was that he got another show canceled. And then he just like, oh, this guy is consistent. And he looked me up on YouTube. He's like, okay, cool. He's done a lot of podcasts. And then it's like, yeah, let's do it. So I just want to share with everybody, it's about being friendly, persistent, and adding value and showing why this is important. I've made a mistake sometimes to template emails that I send to, guests. And one time I wrote the wrong name. And I know people do this all the time. And I got so upset with myself because it was not personalized. People, if you want to ask something to somebody, don't just do a generic text or mail or whatever it is, because everybody feels that BS, especially in today when you get like 100 emails every day. So be creative, do something fun, do something cool, and be persistent. As far as learning from these people, I don't know if I'm 36, so I used to watch Highlander when I was a kid. I don't know if anybody has watched Highlander, but Highlander, he always had to kill his opponent by cutting off their head. And when he cut off their head, he got all their strength and knowledge into him. So this is how I feel with the podcast. Like every time I get an opportunity to speak to somebody, I can download their knowledge into my body. So now my life has completely changed over the course of, this 250 episodes, because I've learned something from everybody. And, if I should probably say the top 3 is something that I knew before because I wrote a book about it, is write down your goals. I got at that, like almost all my guests say, I write down my goals. I write down my goals. That's one thing, and another thing is, is that success takes time. So have the discipline to do the work every day. I think those are probably the top two.
I love that. I love that. So first and foremost, the first part that you're like, hey, wait a minute, we're talking about these big names, but it took me X amount of times to outreach them, to become friendly with their doorkeepers, essentially, with their booking agents before actually having that opportunity. So I love that resistance and that understanding of, listen, if I want this, we're going to put in the work and get it done. And the two main things, like you said, is that write down your goals and understand that it's going to take time. And that is such an important thing. And I don't know about you, Peter, but I battle with every single day. Like, I'm very driven, I'm very goal oriented, and I put goals, and then it takes time, and you're like, what's happening? But you have to understand that there's this divine timing within the universe, and you're at the place you're supposed to be right now. There's a reason for it. So understand that there's this divine timing. I love that. And Peter, I know that you're in real estate as well, and you were kind of talking about how you do outreaches to get these people on your show, and you're so consistent. I am sure that served you extremely well in your career. Can you please talk to us a bit more about your real estate career? What do you do exactly? Where do you develop? I'm guessing you're a broker, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, correct. So I'm in LA and helping people buy and sell, and I love working with this because, for one, I'm very competitive from my martial arts career. So I get, for people that are competitive, being in some type of entrepreneurial or sales business, it's very rewarding because you get to challenge yourself every day. And second, I love serving people. I love helping people, and this is a great way of helping people and also get very well rewarded for it. So those are the reasons why I'm in this business, and I really enjoy it.
I love that. I love that. And what's next for you? What's the goal with all this? Is it like to develop your real estate career even more? Is it to get the podcast to a level that you could live off of that? Is it both? What's your goals and ambitions with everything that you're doing?
I mean, at the end of the day, I want to be able to help a lot of people to go after their dreams. That's what I'm really passionate about, and that's what's truly important to me. I can do that in different ways, and right now the vehicle is real estate and my podcast. How it's gonna look like in 5 or 10 years, I'm not sure. I just gonna keep evolving in the direction, to evolve myself and try to share as much as I can with the people around me.
I love that. I love that. And I love the fact that you have that goal as well. Like you said, 10 million, if I'm not mistaken, of people that you want to impact and help and so on and so forth. And you're using the vehicle of the podcast as well as real estate, which is an amazing career, which actually, I don't know if I told you, but I was a broker for 5. Okay, yeah, we did speak about it. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So definitely
So
a fun industry. I know, like you said, like if anybody is competitive, anytime you get in the entrepreneur world or like a sales world, there is a lot of that comes into play, and goal driven and all that. So it does become very interesting in that regards, Peter, 100%. So Peter, all this being said, if you permit, because you did mention how you kind of started your karate journey, but I know we had a conversation about this and I really want to talk about it. Why did you start your karate journey? And you had mentioned there was a certain situation when you were younger with other people. If you permit to talk about that, I really believe there's value for our audience with that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I had, my father was a karate. He had his own dojo, so I was always there. So it was kind of natural for me. But as I told you, I really didn't want to train until I saw the Karate Kid. But also during this time, I was, overweight when I was a kid. So I was usually picked last in, soccer and, sports. And I was bullied, and, I still had friends, but I would say that I was not the coolest kid. But what happened to me at that time, I remember this vividly. I went to Macedonia and I sat in my grandfather's lap, and he was feeling my belly, like our old school grandparents. He's like, oh, damn, this is not good. You're a young kid. And I know he said it with love, and I love him so much.
Too much souvlaki.
Oh, it hurt. Yeah, too much. Like it hurt me so much. It hurt me so much. So I took that really to heart. So I started training a lot, and I even went to the extreme, not eating butter on sandwich. Like I got problems with this, and now I was short and fat before. Now I was just short and super skinny. So it didn't help me that much, but I felt was okay. But then I got the martial arts. So when starting high school, I kind of lost all my friends because they were out drinking, they were cool, and I didn't want to drink, I didn't want to smoke. So I kind of lost all my friends. And I remember one moment there were, I think I was still pretty brave because there was like, you know, the disco that you had, like the dance that you usually had for kids. And I remember I really wanted to go, but I had no one to go with. So I rode my bicycle there and went there. And then I remember people asking, like, who are you here with? And I had to lie and say, yeah, my friends are on their way. But I was there by myself. So that was it was a heartbreaking moment to me, but I was proud of myself because I still did it. And now looking back, so all of these things, you know, in my life, having no friends, being first, you know, short and fat, and then short and skinny, and you know, at that time you want to date girls and all of that things, and it wasn't doing me very well. But karate was amazing for me because there I could train hard. We were equal. If you were good at something, you got credit for it. And that's how the journey started for me to gain better confidence. And that's why I think martial arts is great for everybody, just because you learn a lot about yourself, and if you use it in the right way, it will help you in life overall.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that, Peter. I really wanted to talk about this because like I correlated when we spoke it together to the story of GSP, George St. Pierre, which was one of the greatest UFC fighters. The reason why he started mixed martial arts because he was getting bullied as well. And when he explained that, he's like, honestly, once I started mixed martial arts, I didn't use it to defend myself against bullies. It just increased my confidence. So much so that in the classroom, when a teacher asked a question, he used to answer. And then once your confidence up, well, let's call it the bullies stop bothering you because you're showing confidence. And that story that you just explained shows your confidence are going up from realizing, oh, I need to lose weight, from being like, hey, if I want to go to this dance, even if I'm alone, I'm going to go by myself and say a story, whatever the case is, but you still had confidence to go there. So I truly wanted to highlight that to really make people realize more than anything is about confidence and how you could develop that. One way is through sports, mixed martial arts, educating yourself, reading a book, whatever the case is. So Peter, thank you very much for that. And I want to be respectful for your time here. I want to ask you one last question.
Yeah, of course.
Where can our community connect with you if they have any questions about what you said, about knowing about your podcast, or if they're in the region of LA to potentially connect you with you for brokerage services?
Yeah, so it's very easy. You just put my name, Peter Jumrukovski, on Google, and you'll find my YouTube channel. You'll find my podcast. You'll find, you know, my contact info for real estate. So very, very easy. Just Google my name, and I would love to hear from all of you, especially if you're struggling with some of your goals, and you just want to share what you're fighting for. I'm really passionate about that, and I love, you know, being able to see what people are fighting for. And if you're listening to this right now and you're struggling in your life, just know, like, both me and Christoph, we have struggled at parts in our life, and we still struggle. Life is like that. But when you find something that is worth fighting for, it makes life beautiful. So if you haven't found that yet, keep exploring, keep doing the things that you say that you're gonna do, and eventually this will all add up. I look at my life now, Christopher, and I see a lot of things that I'm proud of in my life, and I wonder sometimes, like, how did I get here? And I realized I got here by, you know, showing up every day and just doing those small little things. It adds up, and it makes you proud of yourself when you're doing the things that you know is hard. And I also want to say, you know, there's a lot of things that I've tried to do in my life that I have not been able to do. And that's okay too, because when you do that, you learn from it and you move in other directions, which sometimes are better. And I do believe in the universe as well, which means if you do the work and think about the things that are good in your life, you might go on a different trajectory when you first started, but it's supposed to happen. But if there's no movement at all, if you just sit at home, and don't do it, the movement is not going to start. So even if you don't have a clue what you want to do something, because it's going to add up.
I love that. I love that, Peter. Thank you very much for all of that. And obviously, everything you mentioned will be in the show notes below. And that last little rant that you went on the aspect of whatever you want to do, even though you don't know how to do it, just start. You'll figure out the way. I couldn't agree more. So once again, Peter, thank you very much, brother, for being on the show. A true pleasure. We'll still stay connected. And essentially just want to wish you a phenomenal rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Christopher. And thank you for everything you do. It's a new friendship here, but I love how the world is getting connected with people that are so alike. And that's also something I want to tell you that are listening. You know, you might not have somebody that you connect with in your city or your town or even your country, but because of this beautiful thing called internet, you can connect with great people. And instead of looking at bullshit things on Instagram, you can use it to something good and connect with people that are actually positive and helping you. So I applaud you for everything you do, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you, my brother. I really appreciate that, and we'll definitely do this again. All right, have a blessed one. Ciao, ciao.
Take care. Bye-bye.